so many entrepreneurs with cool ideas that have no clue the first thing about marketing their product. The more you're learning and growing as an entrepreneur, the more money you're going to make on the back end, just surely because you're getting better at your craft. You're learning new skills and you're developing yourself as a human being. I think the biggest mistake in marketing is pouring gas onto a fire that hasn't been started yet.
Okay.
I see a lot of people that trying to dive into marketing and they're not ready for it. So how well do you know your customer and the problems that they're going through? And then what's your offer? What are you offering to them that is going to justify them paying you the amount that you're asking for? Now, if you want to like really throw gas on the fire once you've got your paid ads running, build a personal brand on social media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Digital Revolution podcast. In today's episode, we're joined by Max Oliver. Max is the owner of a thriving social media marketing company called 3 Second Media. At the age of 24, he has been able to scale his company to over $100,000 per month in revenue and has worked with over 300 clients in his short 3 years in business. He is a husband, father, and an endurance athlete, and is passionate about helping others achieve true freedom. Welcome to the show, Max.
Hey, what's up, Eli? Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to have you here too. I have watched you from a distance for a while, and I'm just so impressed with, especially being at your age. Like you are such an old soul. I feel like you're just so mature and like outgoing and stuff. So I really respect you, especially at your young age, for accomplishing everything that you've accomplished so far. But let me kind of give like an intro to like how we know each other, just so the audience is aware. We're kind of family, right? Kind of, right? So my brother married your aunt, right? Yep. And so we've been to lots of family functions together, and with your cousins, my nieces and nephews and stuff. And so we've known each other for quite some time. But recently, it's been, I think like 7 months we've been working together.
Yeah.
With one of our clients, right? And man, I'm so impressed with what you do, the professionalism that you bring. I'm impressed even watching your social media. Like, you are living the dream. Like you spend a month out in Hawaii. I know you're traveling a lot, and you have some pretty exciting stuff happening with your family, which I won't spoil. I'll let you talk through that. But before we dive into the nuts and bolts of the podcast, I think I want everybody to get to know Max. So tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? What'd you want to be when you were little? And then like, how did you transition into being a business owner and doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, cool. Well, hey, thank you for that intro, and kind of to reiterate, like, I've loved working with you as well. It's been cool because I think before this relationship, like we had kind of known about each other and what was going on, but like it's been cool to really like dive in and get to know each other better, and cool that we're in the same space. Like, it's always fun to just chat with other marketing agency owners. So
absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, I think what's really interesting is, like, this is the same for everyone, is my childhood really made me who I am today. My upbringing, and that goes for everyone, but I was very, very fortunate to grow up in like a loving household where my parents just gave me so many resources to win in life. And I want to talk about that a little bit. At a very young age, my mom put me in swim lessons. She noticed that I was kind of thriving in swim lessons. She put me on the swim team, and I just dominated in the pool. And I think that was really cool for me to get wins early on in life, and to be kind of praised socially for those wins. And I actually think that a lot of my life, and I've tried to shift this a little bit, but a lot of my life, I've tried to get social praise for my wins. Mm-hmm. And I have tried to like find out what really motivates me internally, but sometimes that can be a good thing to have that social pressure to perform, because it can really drive results and it can drive success. And so I got a lot of praise at a young age. I was the oldest kid. I think my parents were really impressed at how I was performing in sports. And I was kind of a shy kid growing up. And then we moved when I was like 11 or 12, and I was like, I'm sick of being the shy kid. Like, I want to have tons of friends when we move. And so I just kind of made like a quick identity shift when we moved. I was like, I'm done being the shy kid. I'm just going to talk and care less about what people think of me. And from then on, I just decided to be an extrovert. So that was kind of an interesting pivot in my life. And still thrived at swimming growing up. Then I got into music production. I was in a band growing up, which is interesting because that I think ultimately led me into being like a creative.
Yeah.
I learned to produce music. I wrote, produced, sung, played all my own songs. We had a band that was really fun, made some money like doing weddings. And that was a really cool creative outlet. I kind of knew from that moment on, I always wanted to do something creative.
Yeah.
At that time, I really wanted to just be a musician. And I think when I made that switch to being like an extrovert, I just realized like, if you want to be an extrovert, you have to come into everything with confidence. And sometimes it's just delusional confidence that you have. And so I remember a time I was in high school, I was sitting down with a counselor and my mom and a counselor, and they were like, so what do you want to do with college? And I'm like, I'm not going to go to college. And they're like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I'm going to be a rock star. And she laughed at me, and it's like, okay, that's interesting. Well, why don't we make a plan B? And I said, rock stars don't have plan Bs. They only have plan As. And so I just like, I kind of cringe at myself back then because I did have some like delusional confidence, but I think it was from like really making that decision that I just wanted to be a confident, extroverted person. I wanted to have friends. And I really thrived off of that like social pressure. And I noticed patterns that confident people, they get results in whatever they do, whether it's making friends, in sports, in music, especially like when you're out performing, you've got to have that confidence.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's kind of a little bit about my childhood. Like I loved doing hard things like swimming. We're up at 5 a.m., 2-hour workouts in the mornings. And then after school, we have another workout. That's maybe another hour and a half, 2 hours. So kind of learned like how to work hard through swimming. I never worked hard in school though. School was always a social thing for me. And I didn't plan on going to college, even though I did a little bit of college after my mission. But I don't know if you have any questions about that before I maybe move on to mission. But
it's interesting. We're very similar up to that point. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I was a competitive athlete as well. I played football, a little bit of basketball. Baseball was like my competitive thing. I honestly thought I was going to play baseball long term. I thought it was like going to go to the major leagues and everything. And I got to, I went to Snow College thinking I'll just do this for a year before my mission. And I didn't even make the team. And I was crushed. I was like, what the heck? Like, but honestly, looking back, I've talked about this on other podcasts. It was the best decision that ever happened to me. Right. Like I had aligned my classes in a way that I could go and play baseball most of the day. And after I didn't make it, that opened up more opportunities that I didn't know were going to happen for me that really changed the whole trajectory of my life. And so then like even in college, I was at Snow College. I went to Utah State for a little while, but I always hated college. Like I love education. I love reading. I love learning. I love growing. But I hated sitting in a formal classroom and having someone tell me what I had to learn in order to get a piece of paper. And so that was really hard for me. And then the other similarity is that I loved music. I was in a band, it paid for a lot of my college. I won some competitions. I played at sororities. I played at, tons of weddings. I did all that. I won a competition, an LDS competition for one of the songs I wrote. And we went on tour out to Arizona and to California and did like a week of firesides at night to like all these LDS buildings. And it was a blast. Loved doing all of that. And either way, so lots of similarities between the two of us and, with music and sports and all the competition, loving parents and all that. So if I wouldn't have, here's the segue to your mission. If I would have made the baseball team, I'm 100% positive I wouldn't have gone on a mission. And for those who are listening out there that may not understand what that means, we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as LDS or Latter-day Saints or Mormons. And when you're now 18, and when I was younger, it was 19, when you turn 19 years old, you have the option to go serve for 2 years. And I went to Lima, Peru for 2 years, Spanish speaking, and just preached the gospel of Jesus Christ for 2 years. And I wasn't going to church. I didn't pray often. I didn't know how I felt about things. And when I didn't make the baseball team, one of the things that I ended up doing was joining a show choir, an LDS show choir. And we went on tours all around to seminaries and institutes and stuff like that. But just being around people who prayed often, who were good, positive people, singing praises to the Lord all the time, it just changed something in my heart deep down. And I made the decision to serve a mission. And if I wouldn't have done that, and I would have gone, I know some of the people who made the team, and they're amazing people, but some of the decisions they made after being on that team would have led me down a completely different path, where I wouldn't have met my wife. I don't feel like I would be where I'm at today if I wouldn't have got cut from the team. So I'm grateful for it for sure. But that's how I got into serving a mission. So tell me about you end up serving a mission. Tell me that story. Do you feel like your website traffic is kind of in a slump right now? Or maybe over the last couple of weeks or months, it's actually dipped quite a bit and you cannot figure out what to do next? Go to fireusmarketing.com/meeting to schedule a free meeting with me where we can look at your website, talk about your frustrations, and see if there's anything that I can do to help you out. The meeting is absolutely free. There's no strings attached. If I can help you, I'd love to. Again, go to fireusmarketing.com/meeting. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. We have tons of similarities I didn't even know before this conversation. So that's cool. And
yeah.
Interesting that like you probably do you still do music? Are you like
I mean, I have guitars up on my wall like you do in the back. I try to sometimes, but yeah. But since I've had kids, I've kind of put it on the back burner, and I'd really love to get back into it. But it's when you have work and kids and trying to be an adult's hard.
Yeah. Yep. It's tough. And that's actually a huge part of my story as well. Cause even coming home from my mission, like I really wanted to be a musician, but kind of talking about going on to a mission. I grew up in a pretty like wealthy area. My dad had a corporate marketing job all growing up. So I was kind of surrounded by marketing, and I always thought, oh, that'd be an interesting career. Like maybe I did have a plan B in the back of my mind. Like, oh, it'd be interesting if music didn't work out to go into marketing. But where I grew up, where my parents moved, that second time, we were pinned between two billionaires in our neighborhood. Very well-known billionaires. Todd Peterson, the owner of Vivint, sold for multiple billions of dollars. And then Ryan Smith, the owner of Qualtrics, next door to where I grew up, sold for multiple $1 billion as well. And those two people were very influential in my life, and both of which had talked about how their missions had made them successful. My dad kind of got me into like self-help books and personal development. And so I was kind of into that stuff, and just looking around, every single person in the neighborhood that I grew up with was very successful, a lot of them in business, and they all had attributed their success to that one moment is going on a mission. Yeah. I kind of was at a point where I didn't really want to go on a mission, but I knew how important it'd be for my life. And then I met this girl, now my wife, Whitney, and we'd been friends all growing up, but like we started dating our senior year in high school. And kind of like you talked about, after your senior year in high school, once you're 18, you can go on a mission now. And I was at a family event with them up at her dad's cabin, and they were having like a devotional, basically just talking about like the gospel of Jesus Christ and how it's blessed their lives. And I just felt so inspired in that moment. And I literally felt God talking to me saying, hey, if you want a family like this someday, if you want something like this where, all 8 siblings of theirs were together, they were all happy and just like sharing messages about Christ and how it's blessed their lives. And I just felt, if you want that someday, you know what you have to do. You have to go serve a mission. So I was like, all right. I think the next day I'd like talked with my bishop. I had to clean up my life a little bit, but I was able to go like right as I turned 18. I served in Canada serving the Latin community in Calgary. So Spanish speaking, which just absolutely changed my life. I thought maybe I kind of knew like how to work hard. Dude, the mission slapped me in the face with hard work, like what it actually takes. It taught me a lot about having discipline in a routine and how important routines are, and creating habits that can basically just propel your day forward if you can get them done in the morning. It taught me how to communicate with people. I obviously learned Spanish, which was a really cool tool.
Yeah.
But taught me to be like patient in skills, you know, in skill development, because that's an extremely hard thing to do, is learn a language.
Yeah.
I learned a ton on my mission, and actually COVID-19 hit right during my mission. And so a lot of missionaries got sent home, but I got to stay out. And so we did a lot of quote unquote online marketing for missionaries. And that really intrigued me. There was a member in my ward who runs a marketing agency. Have you met Catherine Cortez?
I don't think so.
She works with my dad a little bit. She runs an agency in Canada, but she helped us like get Facebook ads running. And my companion was a videographer, and we like would go downtown Calgary and just shoot video ads. And then she would show us how to run them. And we literally would generate appointments to meet with people to teach about the gospel, which was so cool to me that like, you can pay Facebook to like get appointments booked on your calendar. So that was a really cool kind of exposure. And I was talking to my dad every week about it. And he was like, dude, when you get home, just, you know, like I quit my job and I started this marketing agency. And he was like, you should come like do some ads. Cause he saw the stuff that we were producing. And dude, my companion, you need to look him up. His name's Dylan Cotto. He is a phenomenal videographer. And so our ads were so good. The church like headquarters asked us if they could run the ads worldwide. Like, wow, they were really good ads. I'll have to show you them, but all to the credit of my companion. So anyways, I got home from my mission. I realized that I wanted to marry Whitney. She served a mission as well in California. And I was like, I don't think music is going to pay the bills. So we were engaged 3 months from when I got home from my mission, and then married within 6 months from when I got home from my mission. And during that time, I was working for my dad, basically just being like a content creator for his clients. So his clients would have them shoot video ads. So we'd go out and we'd just go like shoot video ads. And that was so cool to me.
Yeah.
But anyways, that kind of scratched my creative itch for wanting to do music. I was like, well, I can like write a script, go out and film content, and then they go post this on Facebook and it produces results for them. Like, this is a really cool way to make money. Like, so it was cool. I worked for my dad specializing in that, but that's kind of how like I got into marketing and exposed to this realm. And it was just, it was really interesting that I thought it was so cool. You can have a hypothesis for what works. You can put it out there and the market will tell you like exactly from like the time you launch it, if they like it or they don't like it. And so you kind of realize it's the scientific method, right? You come up with a hypothesis, you launch something, it doesn't work. You figure out why it didn't work. You go back to the drawing table and like do it again and again and again. I love that cycle, that feedback loop. And I think that's partially why I kind of fell in love with marketing. So
I think that's a huge lesson for a lot of business owners listening out there. I've ran into so many business owners that are stuck in their way. They're like, this has got to be the way that it works because this is the way that I do things. Like, I don't know. Here's an experiment to do. I do this with my wife every once in a while. We'll both hold up our phones. We both have iPhones. And I'm like, go to this app and do something. And she'll go do something and then I'll do it. And we'll get to the app differently. I'll go search for it. She has it in a folder. She knows where it is, right? Then she goes into the app and she uses buttons differently than I do. And so for a business owner to say, the way that I use things or the way that I do it is what most people do is incorrect thinking. So I love what you're saying with ads. It can slap you in the face and you can be like, your way of thinking kind of sucks, like, and it doesn't work. And as a business owner, you need to look at that and analyze why, change it. And not to say that like your opinion doesn't matter. And it could work for a handful of people. And I remember at one of the companies I worked for, we read this book that talked about there's 16 different personalities in humans. And we narrowed them down. We kind of put them into buckets into 4. And when we would build landing pages, we would build them for each individual personality. So if you're like personality 1, you could get everything at the top that you wanted. If you're personality 2, you'd use the top and the second one. And personality 3, 4 would be the one that would read all the content all the way down. And we would design those web pages for those 4 personalities. But understanding that there are 16 different personalities that you're trying to somehow attract, it makes it fun, but also challenging when you're doing these ads to like hit the majority, right?
Yeah, dude, I love that. Dude, before you started Fire Us, tell me, like, were you working at a marketing agency, or you work for a company in a marketing department?
So I had worked at I'd worked at an agency before. I'd worked at startups before. Where I worked before was a multi-billion-dollar international company, that's where I really expanded into the international sector, which was pretty awesome in all digital marketing, digital product management, all of that. So over the years, I'm a little bit older than you, like just barely.
Just barely.
I just turned 44 and you're 24, so 20 years older. And over my career in digital marketing, I've hit, from agencies to startups to SaaS companies to, storage units. Like there's nothing less sexy to promote online than a storage unit that, statistically speaking, you only rent one time in your life, and it's usually something depressing like a death or a divorce or something like that. And so, and then, at the agency where, I was over the SEO product when I left. And so I had to develop products for 6,000 different clients. And so I've had a wide array of experience in different industries and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of my background a little bit.
Cool. Dude, that's awesome. What got you to start Fire Us then?
So Fire Us Marketing started because when I left my last job, I wanted to train people how to make money online. And I built a little platform where they could go and watch a series of videos. And by the end of it, they'd have a fully built out website that if they continued doing the SEO that I was teaching in there, that it would eventually start making money, right? I taught them different ways to monetize it. And I had people go through that, and they go through the training, they'd have the website, and then they come to me and like, this is great, but I need more. Can I pay you for one-on-one coaching? And I would do one-on-one coaching with them for a while. And then after seeing like the intricacies of like how much there is to do on a daily basis, they were like, this is great that I know it, but I just don't have time to, be a dentist and do this, or to, be a chiropractor and do this. And so all these people would come and say, I just want to pay you to do it. And I'm like, okay, if everyone's just going to pay me to do the work, I might as well officially create an agency.
Yeah.
And the reason we came up with Fire Us Marketing is because of that educational piece. I want people to be educated so much that if they ever do want to take it in-house, they can do that, right? And if that's not you and you want to hire in-house, then I'll help. I'll post the job for you. I'll help do interviews so you ask the right questions. I'll train the person. We'll hand it off, and you can eventually fire us as an agency. And hopefully there's, some long-term benefit to that. You'll give us a positive review. Or, a lot of people have reached back out and said, like, I need help with Black Friday sales, or we got a new product line coming. And so we'll still come in and help wherever we can. And a lot of times these companies will have an in-house marketing person, but the company's growing so fast that they need additional support. And that's where they still come back to us, and we'll support, kind of be an extension to their marketing arm. And so yeah,
that's awesome. That's interesting. It kind of started out like coaching, and I'm assuming info products, and then moved into agency, because it's interesting. A lot of people do it the other way around. They go agency and then they move into info products, or at least just from my conversations. But way cool, and I love the model too. Like Fire Us is kind of disruptive, and I like that about agencies, because most agencies are like, never leave us, like. Yep. We want you to pay our retainer for ever and ever and ever. Yeah. And it's like, that's totally your goal is for them to be at such a good point where it's like, hey, you can now fire us and move on if you want to. Yeah. That's cool.
I'd love to be your agency forever if that's what you want. But the problem I see with agencies is that they become this like conveyor belt of services, and it's not custom to the person. It's not custom to the business. And so no matter what industry you're in, you get the same service as every other industry. And where I like what we do is we specialize in really helping, the client not just do like the basics of, the marketing, the basics, SEO, technical, all of that, but we really dive in and look at your data, the analytics, the content, and everything, and really make sure that we're making tweaks for them specifically, as opposed to this conveyor belt of stuff. But not let's not talk about me anymore. I want to learn more about you. See, you're such a good interviewer that you flipped it around on me.
I like to hear about you and chat, and maybe I need to have you on my podcast that doesn't exist yet. But
yeah, dude, happy to in the future be on your podcast whenever.
Yeah, awesome.
Tell me, Max, about what's something exciting that you're currently working on.
Good question. I'm working on a lot of exciting things. I think the most exciting thing for me is now being in a point where I can be the CMO of my own company. Because as an agency owner, like in the beginning stages, you kind of do everything from the sales to the fulfillment to leadership to hiring, firing, finances. And I still do a lot of that stuff, but something that I've been really proud of is the team that we've built and the systems that we have in place, so that when we do sign on a client, I'm so confident that my team can go out and perform for them and just crush it.
Yeah.
And what that's allowed me to do is kind of step back and be almost like a consultant to my team and lead them in that way, but then also focus on my company and how are we now acquiring clients and structuring deals that is going to allow us to grow as a marketing agency. Kind of to back up on that, like I didn't go to college. I went to college, but I ended up dropping out. And so I actually kind of started my agency because I was like, if I'm going to spend 4 years in college paying someone to teach me about something where I have no guarantee of a job, in fact, hardly anyone's getting jobs these days straight out of college that they want to, like jobs that they actually studied in, then I may as well just start a business, because I know that I'll probably learn the most and I may make some money in the process. But even if I do lose money, at least like I can give it 4 years and make that my quote unquote college experience. And so that's what I felt like my marketing agency's been. But financially, it's been much better than I even anticipated, which is awesome. So everything for me is about learning and growing. I try to make decisions based on that rather than financial decisions, but oftentimes they kind of come hand in hand. The more you're learning and growing as an entrepreneur, the more money you're going to make on the back end, just surely because you're getting better at your craft. You're learning new skills and you're developing yourself as a human being. So right now, where I see growth is in myself, is learning how to build a high functioning sales team for my marketing agency. So right now we have 2 sales guys, and I'm kind of the CMO. I've been the salesperson for the marketing agency. I've sold well over 250 marketing deals, if you will, as a marketing agency owner, and kind of put the systems in place to now build a sales team, which has kicked my trash over the last year. I've hired a bunch of sales guys that have just flopped, and it's all my fault as the owner. Now looking back, like I just made so many mistakes in hiring and training them. But that's what excites me, is like the next phase for me in my personal development. Maybe that's selfish, but I love developing my skill sets. And right now it's building and managing a sales team. I love my sales guys. It's like they have a certain personality and energy that I vibe with. And so that's what's exciting to me, on top of all the tech and AI that we're now implementing as marketing agencies. As you probably know, dude, those who are implementing it are getting way ahead, and those who aren't are falling way behind, both financially and just peace of mind. Like,
for sure.
So anyways, that's what's really exciting for me right now is growing as a CMO and building a sales team for my marketing agency.
I love that. And you have such a good outlook on it. I've read lots of leadership books in the past. I'm trying to remember exactly who said it, I can't remember right now who said it, but basically they said that your company will never outgrow your personal growth as a leader, as the company owner, right? As the CEO, the CMO, like you are the cap, and your company will never go above that. So the fact that you're reading, you're learning, you're learning from the mistakes that you've made when hiring some of the past salespeople, and now you have a better grasp on that. Like that makes you grow, that makes your sales team grow, that makes your company as a whole grow. So I love that approach. Let's dive in a little bit to the nitty gritty. So if I'm a business owner out there or a marketer who's looking for like different perspectives on how to like grow my business, maybe let's dive into some specifics of as an agency owner, you obviously have a lot of good takeaways to like how to grow a business, but like how do you help clients? And if a client comes to you, like let's start here. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see clients make before they come to you? So they come to you, you do an analysis, and you're like, oh wow, we got to change this, and this real quick. What are some of those things?
Yeah, that's a good question. I see a lot of mistakes, but I think the biggest mistake in marketing is pouring gas onto a fire that hasn't been started yet.
Okay. I
see a lot of people that trying to dive into marketing and they're not ready for it, and hiring marketing agencies when they're not ready for it either. And I feel bad that I've sold businesses who aren't ready for marketing. As an entrepreneur, it is your duty to know the bare minimums of marketing. And I see so many entrepreneurs with cool ideas that have no clue the first thing about marketing their product. And so they come to a marketing agency with no proof of concept, with an idea and a half-built MVP for a product. And I'm like, dude, you're not ready for marketing. If you need the help, you need some consulting, and you need to get into the nitty-gritty and do it yourself. So I think the biggest mistake I see new business owners making is blindly trusting other marketers to help them out. And I feel bad because I did that in the beginning of my career, because I just sold people who were not ready for it. And luckily I was able to like consult them through a lot of things, and we had to help them do a lot of the building. But dude, a lot of people just get taken advantage of by marketing agencies just due to sheer ignorance. And if you don't have the foundations laid for your business and you try to go to market, you're going to get bodied. You're just going to get wrecked. So that's what I see the biggest. And what are those foundations that you need to have set up? You need to know what problem you're solving. Is that problem even relevant to the person that you're solving to? Have you even asked people if that's a good problem to solve? So how well do you know your customer and the problems that they're going through? And then what's your offer? What are you offering to them that is going to justify them paying you the amount that you're asking for? Bare minimum, we need to have that as a foundation. And I'm so grateful for gurus that know what they're talking about, like Alex Hormozy and Russell Brunson, for putting together materials like that. But a lot of business owners who are clicking on our ads, I'm sending home and telling them, go read these books and then come back to me. So we can have a shared background of experiences. So when I propose this to you, it's going to make a lot more sense. And you're going to be able to have done the groundwork so that we can pour gas on the fire. Because I don't want to build the fire. I'm not a fire builder. I don't want to operate your company and be a founder in your company. I want to be the gasoline that takes your company to the next level. So I don't know if that answered the question, but I see a lot of business owners making that mistake. And you probably do too, being in this space, right? And kind of knowing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, it's a sad place to be, knowing that the majority of agencies out there are giving the good ones a bad reputation.
Yep.
Right. A lot of the clients that we have come to us because they've had bad experiences at other agencies, and a lot of them are hesitant. A lot of them, and to their credit, they should be, right?
Yeah.
They're hesitant, and they're like, I don't know, I've been burned. I've been paying this much per month for this many years, and I just don't feel like I've gotten anything out of it. And so the hard part is that, they then at that point try to take it in-house by themselves, they're already busy, they're already business owners. And, I agree with you. They do need to have the knowledge, of marketing and how to do it, but then they need to hire someone to do it for them, because if you're just going to halfway do it, it doesn't help anyone.
Yeah.
Right. You can't partially do SEO and partially do paid ads and partially do email marketing and partially do organic social media and partially, like, there's how many channels are out there that, like, I saw this programmatic ad the other day on Hulu where the first one, my kids were watching something and the first one pops up and I was like, oh, that was like a really good ad. And the next one popped up and it looked like a crappy PowerPoint presentation. And I was like, I don't remember the name of it. Nobody's going to go for that. It doesn't look like a commercial. It doesn't look like a programmatic company did it. So they probably just like Googled, how do you do this? And then unprofessionally went and just uploaded a picture.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe it was their strategy.
And look,
but
I actually love that people will go do that. It's kind of like the ready, fire, aim principle of like just going out and trying it. And that's how I think a lot of people learn. But if you don't aim after you fired, like ready, fire, aim, like you've got to reevaluate. You got to know what you're doing, or else you're going to just burn through cash. And so
that's the problem. Programmatic. If you don't have everything else set up, programmatic's one of the most expensive ways to market. So like if you don't have your basic website ready to capture leads, or, basic SEO, basic paid advertising. Like I interviewed Jessica Chase. She owns a programmatic company here locally. And that's what she said. She's like, we won't work with people who don't have the foundation, just like you're talking about. They have to have that foundation. Otherwise, us doing our work over here just goes to nowhere. It goes to the ethos, right? So I think I do love the ready, fire, aim, but you got to choose your channels. You have to be educated in the right way and know, like, you can ready, fire, aim in SEO and it doesn't cost you anything. But if you do it in programmatic marketing, it can cost you $15,000. And then you're like, oh, well, somebody told me to do this and I'm never going to trust anyone ever again. Right? What are some of the ways that you do competitive research for your clients when they come in and like, okay, so they come in and they have that foundation. They know their product, it's been tested. They know their market. They have that strong foundation. How do you go out and do competitive research to see what's working already? And then, like, that's your sort of baseline starting point before you test and grow from there. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think first things first, like you've got to understand your fundamental marketing principles before you go out and do competitive research, because a lot of people will go out and look up their competitors. And for example, I don't know if whoever's watching this, I don't know if you knew this, but you can go to someone's Facebook page and click into their ad account and see exactly what ads are running. This is all public information for people.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're looking for, you're going to look up a competitor and you're going to see their ads and be like, let's go copy those ads. Let's go run them. Like, we found the secret sauce. Like, we see their ads, let's go run them. It's hard to tell if you don't know what you're looking for, what ads are actually converting and which landing pages are working, and if you're not strategic with it. So you have to know what you're looking for. So you got to know your fundamental basic marketing principles. So Russell Brunson talks about the three things that most people fail with in their marketing. If their marketing is not working, it's likely one of these three things. It's the hook, the story, or the offer. So the hook, it's what is grabbing attention, getting people to kind of perk up their ears and say, I want to learn more about this person or this company. It's the story. So your unique process, what separates you. It's your testimonials, your case studies, and then your mission. Like, what is your goal? What's your mission? How are you changing the world? That's your story. And you have a short window to tell your story. So you got to be strategic with that time. Then your offer. Like we talked about, what am I getting for what I'm paying you? How long is it going to take? How likely is it going to work? And then how much effort and sacrifice am I going to have to put in? Those are the 4 bullet points on offer. So if you don't know what a good hook or a story or an offer is, and you go out and do competitive analysis, meaning popping open someone's ad library and just taking a look at their ads, or looking at the organic social media and seeing what videos have gone viral, or looking at their landing page or their website, whatever it is, you won't be able to pinpoint their hook, their story, and their offer and what was good about it. And it takes repetition, takes so much repetition. I was super lucky to work with my dad at his marketing agency when it was just four of us. It was my dad, his partner Joe, Russ, and myself. And then they hired the CTO CTO Brian shortly after me. And I got to watch them grow from us five essentially to 25, 30, maybe when we were at 40 employees before I left and started my own thing. And so I got to see a lot of the back end of this is working and this wasn't working. And so I cheated a little bit in the sense where I got to see behind the curtains, not just the ad library, but the dollars in, dollars out. And that was really cool for me because I got an eye for very early on for what works and what doesn't. And dude, I thank my dad all the time and Joe for giving me that platform, that opportunity to just have the curtains open to me and be like, whoa, this is real marketing. We're spending $1, we're making 10 back. That's what that looks like. Wow. Okay. So what are the patterns there? What are we seeing that's working? What's not? And it's understanding those principles and patterns that can then have you open up an ad library and pinpoint, I know that ad is crushing right now. They've been running it since last January and it's now November. And so like, it's been running for so long and this I can tell it's working based on their hook story and their offer. You click through in the landing pages, strong headlines, strong stories, strong testimonials and case studies. Like this has got to be converting. Let's put this in our vault and then let's go find other dots, if you will, that we can draw a conclusion through that this is going to be a good strategy for us as far as our ads, our landing pages, our offer, our hook, our script, our story, right? So those are kind of our fundamentals. I don't know if you're a Russell Brunson fan, but the hook, story, offer thing has just been a really good like foundational principles for me on like, if something's going to work, it's going to be because it's got solid hook stories and offers.
Yeah, I love that. So I love the hook story offer. I think that's solid. And I love that you're calling out that. So you can go to the Facebook ad library, you can look at your competition, but being aware that just because it's posted does not mean that it's successful. There's no data in there. You can see what they're putting out, but there's no data that says it's working or not working. So understand those three principles and what you're looking for, especially if an ad's been around for a long time. You can tell it has that as well. Tell me how you're using AI and how, these business owners out there can use AI to sort of do some of the legwork in that competition analysis. Like I know you can go on prompt and say, hey, here's an ad from a competitor. Please pull out these three things, the hook story, the offer. And you can have AI, especially if you build an agent or have the pro version of ChatGPT, which is an agent, you can have it go and look at all competition that you put in there, analyze all of that, and then spit out, a spreadsheet of results that you can go and test. So tell me how you're using AI and how these business owners can use it to sort of not cut corners, but do the monotonous work.
Yeah, dude, I love that. To give another principle here, I learned from Dan Martell. He has a book called Buy Back Your Time.
Love it.
Can't tell, dude, I'm a book nerd.
Yeah, love it.
Dan Martell, dude, he has the 10-80-10 rule. So do 10% of the effort up front, give your employee or AI agent the 80% to do, and then do 10% of revisions and feedback. That's how we use AI, whether it's in competitive analysis, writing scripts. We have yet to produce like good video content through AI. So we do our video editing manually and graphic design. It's March of 2025. That could change next month.
Sure, for sure.
But as far as like a lot of the groundwork, as far as creative goes, script writing, competitive analysis, we are applying the principle of let a human being who knows these principles that we talk about, hook, story, offer, like, crafting like a no-brainer $100 million offer, Alex Ramosi, right? Let it give AI the 10%, let AI do the 80% of the work, which is going to take hours and hours, and then give 10% of the feedback to revise and change. The other thing that's really important on top of the 10-80-10 is AI is only as good as the context you give it. That is so important. I think a lot of people miss that as they say, write me a video ad script. This is my business. And I want you to make it a high converting or high performing video ad. AI has no clue what a high performing or converting
Right.
video ad looks like.
Yeah.
And it takes people a long time to realize that. But what we do, for example, is because we have a lot of this data, I put in a document, a PDF document, 100 ad scripts that we've seen convert on a high level. We then upload that PDF into ChatGPT and say, based on the 100 high performing ad scripts, I want you to tell me the hook story in the offer. I want you to tell me the principles that are making these video ads convert. Then here's all this information on my business. Here's my hook. Here's my story. Here's my offer, bullet points, right? Here's exactly the pain points that my customers are going through, some things that haven't worked for us. You just give it so much context, and that's that 10%, then let it rip. It's when people go in and just give no context to AI and expect a godly ad to be produced. It's just unrealistic. So you've got to treat it like a new team member, and you're giving it context before your team member goes and does like a test project, you know?
Yeah. Too many people just do the basics. And we see that with clients coming in all the time where their old ad agency or their old marketing agency used AI to write blog content and hundreds of pieces of content that we eventually had to just get rid of. We had to like 410 all of them just because they just went to ChatGPT and said, give me a 300 to 500 word blog post about this topic and use these keywords. And it's the same amount of paragraphs, every single one. Yeah. There's no bullet points. There's no images that break it up. There's no humanization to it. That, using the AI terminology of what's the word that always pops up on AI that we don't use certain words in America when we're talking. But because AI, a lot of the engineers, I've heard this story. I don't know how true it is, but I've heard that some of the engineers were from Europe, from like London, and they used a word that we understand what it means, but it's not something we use in everyday, conversations. I'd read all these blog posts and I'm like, oh, first sentence has that word. I'm like, it's obviously AI. And so like, it had been up, there had been, a year's worth of blog posts for one of the clients that we looked at, and we went and looked at all the analytics, and like the moment they started posting AI is when traffic dropped. So we recently just went back and got rid of every single one of them. We did an analysis on all of them and said, do we add to it? Do we make it better? Like if it had any data or tracking, we would keep it and update it. But for the most part, we just had to get rid of all of it. So what you're saying is absolutely true. And digging down even deeper, right? So you give it the first prompt, you're going to need to follow up on it and say, give me more information about this paragraph and give me a source from where you're getting that information. Because sometimes AI can make up stuff. Yeah, that's not true. But if you ask for a source, a lot of times it's true. And then you're like, okay, take this and put it into 5 bullet points for me. And so you're like 4 levels deep in questions. Then you pull it out and then you do the 10% to humanize it. Just the 10-80-10, right? That 10%, you humanize it, make it better. And then like, I think it's okay to use AI to write content as long as you go through those steps and write scripts and stuff. But I love the idea that you have of like, here are the 100 successful scripts that we've used. Any kind of data that you're willing to give to AI, obviously unpersonalize it. Don't pull your customers' data and stuff and put it in their personal data. But a lot of these bigger companies who have tons and tons of data, they could depersonalize it, put it up into AI and say, give me a strategy with this. I think that's a solid way of doing things.
Yeah. It's the difference between making it work and flopping is giving it that context, right? So
yeah. I want to talk about the future, but before I do, I want to ask one more question. Are there any other tips or advice that you would give to business owners who are listening to this podcast and they're like, how do I elevate myself online? Specifically, your agency focuses on social media marketing. So whether that's organic, whether that's paid, anything that we haven't covered that you'd want to just briefly talk about to these marketing, or not to the marketing agency, sorry, these business owners that you should go and do these steps.
If you haven't figured out how to crack paid ads on social media, that can be the one thing that unlocks so much revenue for your business. Like, bare minimum, like, dude, just go figure it out. Like, there's so many people figuring it out. If you're not going to hire an agency, just go figure it out. Like, it you may be able to hire an agency and get the results a lot faster than you would, but there are kids in their parents' basement figuring this thing out. So like you have no excuses. Just go figure it out. It will unlock so much revenue and consistency. Now, if you want to like really throw gas on the fire once you've got your paid ads running, build a personal brand on social media. That is so powerful as an entrepreneur, no matter what you do, to have an audience that of individuals that you can reach out to and sell unique products and services to. Yeah. That is, it's like having a massive email list. It's legitimacy. It's clout. It's also real leads if you know how to treat your followers correctly. So I would go build a personal brand on social media: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. LinkedIn, we don't really touch much LinkedIn. It's something we definitely need to work on. But if you're running paid ads and you have a personal brand, that is the perfect storm on social media to have high trust and high authority with your audience and convert way more, have way higher show rates to your sales calls and convert way more leads because they've already been indoctrinated by you as a human being by just going and watching your videos. Just by watching your videos, they should be able to look at it and say, I would like to work with this person. And before they've shown up to the call, they've already said, I want to work with this person. Yeah. So learn paid ads, grow a personal brand.
I want to clarify on that. To be very specific, you are saying personal brand, right? Because I think it's so important that people understand, like, you can go and build your business brand all you want, but people don't, at least these days anymore, people don't follow businesses, right? They might, if it's a big business, whatever, they have good deals, coupons coming out all the time, BOGOs, all that, but they follow the leaders within the businesses. They follow the business owner. They follow the CMO. They follow the VPs. And when those business owners are talking about, their personal life, the journey of building the business, the mistakes you've made in the company. I'm a shoe shop, and we built this shoe and printed 40, not printed, but built 40,000 of them and realized that the tongue didn't work right, like whatever it is, right? Like hearing those mistakes humanizes you and makes you like more relatable. I've had a lot of podcasts where people have said this and they're like, I buy because of the leaders that I follow within those companies. I don't buy because the company puts a bunch of stuff out, because I know they have a marketing team behind who's doing that for them. But when you see, especially if you're not following Max Oliver right now, go follow Max Oliver on all these social platforms and you'll see the stories that he puts out. You see him living the dream. You see him building the business. You see the mistakes he's making. You see him with his headphones on, nailed in, like getting in that flow state. Like that's what people want to see. So just to like add a little bit of clarification on what you're saying so people make sure and understand, this is your brand, you, not your business. This is you, right? So 100%. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say that having a presence for your brand on social media is important. But I don't know if people are going to buy from your brand just based on how many followers your brand has. If you're really good at storytelling and you're really good at building, like mission, like you have a very mission-based brand, and then on top of that, you're a wizard with content creation, maybe you could grow a really strong brand. There's a few people out there who are doing it really well and crushing it. But it's so difficult. Building a personal brand is a lot easier. People trust people, and we're seeing a huge shift from people trusting brands and trust rather than trusting the brand, trusting who's the individual that's running the brand.
Yeah.
The biggest personal brands on the planet, Donald Trump, one of the biggest personal brands, or any politicians, they're the first really like big personal brands, because they are a business within themselves, right? But Elon Musk, no matter what he touches now, he will have instantly millions and millions of customers because he's built his personal brand. The wealthiest person on the planet. Maybe that's not a good example, but I could list off a bunch of examples. But yeah, personal brand, people are trusting human beings a lot more than brands themselves. So
yeah, I mean, some of my favorites that I follow. So Ed Milet, Dean Graciosi, Tony Robbins. You mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, there's so many that you could probably name off, and a lot of them I found a lot of these people that I follow, I have found through Ed Milet's podcast. So I listen to his podcast because he brings on some of the coolest people ever. And then that person has a podcast and I watch that and they bring on other amazing people, and just like expanding the types of books you read. Like if you want to surround yourself with positive people and you don't have like a network to do that locally, go read their books, go listen to their podcasts, better yourselves by surrounding yourselves through those influential people. And I mean, there's a million other big brands out there that may not ever be as big as Donald Trump or Elon Musk, but you've probably heard of them or seen them pop up on your feed at one point or another. So I think it's huge, the personal brand piece. Max, where do you see the future going in the digital space? Okay, listen up real quick. I promise I'm going to get you right back to the episode. But are you frustrated that your product or service isn't getting the right amount of visibility it deserves online? If so, and you want my help guiding you through the SEO optimization, go to fireusmarketing.com/SEO to get my free SEO guide. It talks about all levels of SEO, local SEO, regional SEO, national SEO, and international SEO. It should give you everything you need to optimize your website at a basic level. If you'd like help beyond that, feel free to hit me up at fireusmarketing.com. I'd be happy to jump on a call and talk through your needs. Now let's get back to this episode.
Where do I see the future going? Well, I mean, AI is obviously just a big topic right now. So I don't think AI is going to replace humans, but I think it's going to make humans superhumans. You know, AI is going to make people superhumans. That's where I see the future of marketing, digital marketing going. Is those who understand it are going to get way ahead, and those who don't understand it are falling way behind. And it's our duty as entrepreneurs and digital marketers to stay on top of this kind of stuff, because it'll make or break you being running a profitable business. What we're going to see, I think, a lot is marketing agencies undercutting other marketing agencies on sheer price, just because they can put out so much more for so much less using AI. The ones that are going to thrive are going to be the ones that can put out so much more at a very high quality, as far as a marketing agency is concerned. So I think just watching out for like undercutting, knowing the value that you provide as an agency, but then also being just so dedicated to quality and results for your clients, no matter what AI tools come across, and how much easier it's going to make your fulfillment process, just being married to the results rather than married to higher profit margins and more volume, just surely because of AI and our outputs going up. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where I think I see the digital space going.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are worried about AI taking their jobs, and I think you hit it spot on. If you're not using AI, it probably will, but it won't be AI that takes your job. It'll be somebody else that knows AI, right? Yeah. We've heard a lot about the job title prompt engineer. I think it's a subset, a sub-skill to a lot of jobs now. It's not its own job anymore. It's a sub-skill to pretty much every marketing job. Like, no matter what you're in, you can use it. You can use it in accounting to better your spreadsheet skills. Like you can use it in, to help with being creative. And especially if you're like listening to these other podcasts and reading books and stuff, you can prompt AI based on, the stuff you're learning in these books and from the authors of the books. And especially if the books are like, hey, 5 ways to close your first sale, then you prompt the AI to say, hey, follow these 5 ways from this book, from this person, and write me whatever scripts or sales emails or whatever. But either way, Max, I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to this since you said you would be on. I think that what you're doing, I think we barely scratched the surface of what you're doing and the potential that people have if they want to work with you. I'd encourage anybody who wants to work with Max to reach out, go work with him. He's got a growing business. He's a smart dude that is going places. And he mentions names like Russell Brunson and these guys. 10 years and you're going to be up there passing them up. And I look forward to coming to some of your events and being on the front row cheering you on. So I appreciate you taking the time and being on the show today, Max.
Hey, that means a lot. I'm manifesting you're headlining, and I'm opening up for your gig too.
Oh, well, I'll take it. I'll take that too. But anyway, yeah, appreciate you taking the time for sure.
Likewise.
And to everyone else who's listening out there, we'll talk to you guys next week.